Hello everyone, welcome back to more AEW on TEW 2020. We are here in the third week of September in 2021, and we're starting off with our Dark. You might notice that pictures have changed yet again. I actually just fully went through, you can tell how far behind I am on uploads because this is at the start of August, so I redid the Galaxy Pack for August, kind of changed a lot of different things, so some of the photos might be different from what I originally planned, but that's neither here nor there. BTE starts off with the Young Bucks doing their intro. After this, we see Anthony Corelli at an airport and patiently waiting outside, but soon enough, a bunch of AEW's women wrestlers exit from the airport doors, Bianca Corelli included. Anthony hugs his daughter, and he asks how her time in Stardom was, and after that, they get back together for a little bit longer, and they drive off in a dingy-looking rental car. So, this time last year in-game, I had sent a bunch of people out on excursion. What was it? It was Kenzie Page, Kylan King, Bianca Corelli, Skylar Moore, and I think one other. I'm forgetting who exactly. But sent them off to excursion in Japan, TJPW, and Seedling, or however you pronounce it. I think it was just those three. And they finally come back, Bianca Corelli included. Then, at the end of BTE, because I imagine there's other segments than just these, strange commercial begins to play, promoting Hellman's Mayonnaise, because we're at the Mayo Civic Center. We first see Frederick Hurst going through a hypothetical scenario involving getting into a fight with a polar bear. However, as Hurst keeps walking, eventually we see Jonathan Gresham tapping out a polar bear. Gresham gets up and he's very exhausted from tapping out this polar bear, which is very obviously a man in a costume, and Hurst offers Gresham a ham, cheese, and Hellman's Mayonnaise sandwich to Gresham, who gladly eats it and seems invigorated. It's then that we see another two polar bears show up, and then we see Gresham fighting them in the background. You know, there's kind of this blur in the background where it's, you know, you can't see all the details. But Max Caster and Anthony Bowens do a quick sales pitch rap about the mayonnaise. The bankroll, they're all about making money. They're willing to do really stupid commercials. That's probably what I'm going to end off BTE with. Start off with the intro, one segment, and then just a ridiculous commercial promoting something. But Antonio Banks is also there doing something. Kylan King makes her re-debut as she's defeated by Abaddon. Jordan Grace then defeats Riho. And after the match, Scott Steiner comes to the ring and hugs Jordan Grace. See what they're talking, but we can't really see what they're talking or hear what they're talking about. They're interrupted by the American Wolves, who yell at Steiner for challenging them last week for no reason. Steiner gets in their face, yells back. Eventually, Willpower come out, and the next match begins with Willpower picking up the win. Will Hobbs a little bit behind everyone else, but that is fine. FTR then defeats the Gun Club. Chris Sabin then defeats Angelico. And then Sabin and Shelley enter the ring and begin to make fun of Angelico, beat him up a little bit for doing absolutely nothing for a long time since Jack Evans went off to rehab. They make fun of Angelico, getting ready to hit their finisher when, to no one's surprise because this is the first time that he's been mentioned in like a year, Jack Evans makes the saves, chasing the Motor City Machine Guns off. Evans and Angelico look at each other for a bit before hugging each other as it transitions to the next match. So yes, I believe it was actually starting last week. Jack Evans went to rehab for soft drugs, because now he is back, and the Hybrid 2 can get back to action. Jessamine Duke then defeats Priscilla Kelly, actually underscores Kelly. Dean Malenko then enters the ring with a mic, says, Kyrie, last week you ruined the chance for both yourself and, more importantly, Jessamine to win the women's title. Now, I get that it was an important match, but you seem to have it out for Jess the entire time, so here's what I'm going to suggest. Next week on Dark, we just have a one-on-one match between you and Jessamine. You decline, and we'll all know how much of a coward you are. So yeah, last week we had a Fatal 4-Way. It was an open challenge made by Kana, Killer Kelly, Jessamine Duke, and Kairi Hojo. I believe it was Killer Kelly, that was the fourth woman, the one that got pinned. Duke and Hojo took each other out, and now brings us to this. Jeff Hardy then defeats John Silver. Pac defeats Brandon Cutler. And Hiromu Takahashi defeats Kip Sabian. Our show of Dynamite begins with Adam Page versus Kenny Omega. Adam Page actually picks up the win over Omega. Cody was on commentary for this match. Devitt also at ringside. We will explain this. So after the match, Devitt is very, very visibly exhausted. He's breathing heavily, and he's talking to Kenny for a bit. We can't really hear what they're saying. They're both laying out on the mat as the commentators are putting over how big of a win this is for Adam Page. In addition, Cody Rhodes was on commentary, and over this he's constantly mentioning how the two seem to respect each other once again, with Devitt also sitting in the front row for the match. And afterwards, both Cody and Devitt walk into the ring to congratulate the two on their good match, helping them up, they're being good sports. However, Sammy Guevara rushes out and easily manages to take down Devitt, Cody, Page, and Kenny as he picks up a mic. He says, "Listen up, all you dicks in the ranking committee. I'm not some chump that's going to get the TNT title. Why am I in the TNT title ranking? I deserve to be in the world title picture, damn it. So, maybe I ought to send a message. Heyman, you want your star match next week between Devitt and Moxley? Well, too bad." There's a reason why I have this split up. Because Sammy's prepared to deliver a curb stomp to Devitt when a new debut's music hits, and Rami Sabay rushes out to take down Guevara. Sammy quickly rolls out of the ring, yelling at Sabay, who stays in the ring to protect the 4 downed former members of the Bullet Club as the crowd goes wild as it cuts to commercial. I'm imagining this entire first segment, there's no commercials. Probably means more commercials throughout the rest of this, but still, this whole first half hour, no commercials whatsoever, because we need to show Adam Page versus Kenny Omega and the debut of formerly known as Sami Zayn, Rami Sabay, Man of the People. Great gimmick. And that is the intro feud for Sabay, will be Sammy Guevara, Rami and Sammy. After this, so cuts to commercial, we have the commercial. When we come back, Big Swole defeats Penelope Ford. Afterwards, Kana comes down to the ring after the match with a mic ready to talk smack to Big Swole, but as Kana gets into Swole's face, as she usually does, Swole knocks the mic out of Kana's hand and very clearly, very loudly says, "Face me without talking shit." Swole walks away. She looks disgusted. Kana is just shocked that someone has actually stood up to her. Kana, the most dominant champion so far, hasn't even gotten close to losing a match yet. Only person with no losses whatsoever that's qualified. Obviously, some of our new debuts haven't lost a match because they really haven't had too many matches yet. But Kana, she's like 12-0 or something ridiculous like that. Hasn't lost a tag match. Nothing. Kana, completely undefeated. After this, we see an interview by Tony Schiavone about Britt Baker. Of course, these two good friends. And Britt Baker says, "At the beginning of this company, I was meant to be one of the figureheads of this women's division. And instead, they bring Ric Flair's overhyped daughter to take the spotlight away from a real role model. See, I'm not content with just being a dentist or having a talk show on Dark. I'm gonna need to do a little more than that. Ashley Flair means nothing to me. The VIPs are a bunch of people working off the backs of a former world champion. So you know what? I don't need them. I'm going to prove my worth to AEW. I'm going to beat Deonna. I'm going to beat Tenille. And I'm going to beat Ashley Flair. No issues whatsoever with any of them. Because I'm not just going to fade into the background, okay, Tony? Because I am going to take the reins of this division and bring it to the top." Britt Baker, probably one of my most underused people, finally starting to do something with that. Honestly, Britt Baker being part of the storyline between the VIPs, Ashley Flair, kind of a necessity because of I gave Flair vacation, so whatever. I could have just not aligned Deonna and Tenille, but that's boring. After this, the Young Bucks defeat the Butcher and the Blade, the Meltzer driver, and then Matt Jackson gets on the mic. And Matt says, "We've talked about this before, but not all of you watch our amazing YouTube series, Being the Elite, so let me say it again. We're the best team in the damn world. We're being overshadowed by two guys who just randomly started teaming together. You know what? We already lost our title matches against them, so we gotta work our way back up. So why not go for one of the other best teams in the world? Look, I know you guys are busy with Taz and all of that, but how about we go and face each other a few more times? I mean, we already are killing the business, so why don't we kill the ratings too? So bring it on, FTR. We're not scared of you. So the best in the world. Who is the best tag team? Is it the Young Bucks? Is it FTR? It's probably the Young Bucks, because they both scored an 82. After this, we see Jeff Hardy approached by Sting. Sting says it's hard to believe it's been 10.5 years since then. The lowest point in both of our careers. It's even more difficult to believe that we've bounced back. But I don't want people to remember that night in Orlando when they hear Jeff Hardy and Sting in the same sentence. Do you? Jeff Hardy agrees that that's not what they want to remember, and they agree to a program against each other to try to fix their reputations. So, of course, this is referencing the infamous Victory Road 2011 from March of that year. Hold up. Yes, from March of 2011. It's been 10.5 years. Of course, again, Jeff Hardy, high as hell. Sting had to legitimately pin him. One of the worst moments, one of the most infamous moments in major wrestling history. I'm sure there's been some other moments, but you know, it's pay-per-view, huge stage, and Jeff Hardy and Sting, absolute awful main event because it wasn't really a match. Now they're gonna try to work together. You know, Sting, he is retired from in-ring competition. I'm not gonna bring him into in-ring stuff because that is, I don't think that's a good idea. But still, they're going to have a program against each other. Also, this is going to be a very short episode because we had two incredibly long matches with the 20-minute Page versus Omega match, and then our main event is also above 20 minutes. Takahashi defeats Luchasaurus with a time bomb. Then after the match, Takahashi quickly gets up to the ropes and he loudly shouts TNT, time bomb, a few times until Garza Jr. comes onto the ramp. And Garza's like, I don't know what's up with you new debuts, but I'm not accepting a challenge for the TNT title from a bunch of people that don't have the ranking to justify it. No, Takahashi, I'm not accepting your challenge. No, I'm not accepting Ricochet's challenge. I'm only going off of the rankings. Jeff Cobb? Sure, I'm taking him on next week. Darby Allin, Vikingo, Sammy, well, okay, Sammy might be off the books, and Vikingo, I've heard some rumors that they're reconsidering his ranking, but what matters is that you, Takahashi, are far off the rankings. So the answer is no. Garza, TNT champion, getting a lot of challenges from these, from some pretty big new debuts, Ricochet and Takahashi. Of course, the ones mentioned there, right there, reading off of the, at the time, top 4. Eddie Kingston also in there, but I do have to check how many matches Vikingo has worked recently. Eddie Kingston, he's number 5 there. Sammy, he's going to be moving to the world title, possibly. Still haven't actually decided yet, but whatever. And then in our main event, Coda Bushi defeats Mira with a Phoenix Splash to retain his championship. Again, a very, very short show, because, again, we mainly just had 2 really big matches, 81 ratings. I think those are our best matches. I know, never mind. Devitt Kenny scored an 82, I think, at the pay-per-view. But still, a good show overall. Not too much angle-heavy, but debut of Sami Zayn, 2 massive matches. It's some good stuff here. So, next time, we'll see how things continue as we move on to the end of September.